With Eminem being one of the most controversial rappers ever, and the openness that he displays in songs like Cleaning Out My Closet, it's no surprise that he's faced a multitude of lawsuits for the music he makes. In this video, we'll discuss the craziest lawsuits that have been brought against M that could have easily bankrupted him. So the first lawsuit we'll talk about came at an opportune time for Deborah Mathers, who some of you might already know as Eminem's mother. In 1999, she filed a lawsuit against M for $11 million, claiming he slandered her name in interviews and on his album The Slim Shady LP. At the time, Eminem was 26, and he was having more success than he had ever experienced in his life. He was coming off of his hit single, My Name Is, releasing his sophomore album, and being signed by Dr. Dre. With that being said, he was obviously raking in a ton of cash, and that's probably one of the reasons his mom sued him, because she was jealous and wished she could get in on the millions of dollars he was making. And she probably regretted treating him the way she did when he was a kid. She claims that due to Eminem slandering her in songs and interviews, she had suffered from various forms of emotional distress, including low self-esteem, humiliation, sleepless nights, harm to her credit rating, and even loss of her mobile home. Now, I'm not sure how what a rapper says can affect your credit score, but regardless, she won the lawsuit, but she didn't get the full $10 million. An agreement was reached where Eminem agreed to pay $25,000 to settle the lawsuit, but the judge ruled that $23,000 of that was to go to Debbie Mathers' attorney, while a measly $1,600 was actually pocketed by the rapper's mother. As a result of this disappointing outcome, she attempted to fire her lawyer, and even claimed he had coerced her into taking the $25,000 settlement, but the judge ruled that Miss Mathers had abandoned her legal standing in hopes of gaining more money. I'm sure M hated to give his mom money with her having the audacity to sue him, although 25 grand was probably not that much to him at the time. The second lawsuit we're going to talk about is pretty crazy because it happened literally the same week as Eminem's lawsuit with his mom that we just talked about. 5 days after Eminem filed for divorce from his wife Kim Mathers, she filed a lawsuit seeking $10 million from the rapper. Eminem literally had two back-to-back $10 million lawsuits filed against him in a week's time, and they were both filed by people that were his loved ones. In M's divorce filing from 5 days earlier, he had requested that custody of his daughter Haley be shared 50-50. But Kim was actually trying to take full custody of their daughter. And if you know anything about M, you know he loves his daughter, so there's no way he was gonna let that fly. The lawsuit stemmed from M's lyrics in the song Kim, where he raps about and portrays Kim's fictitious murder. Also made mention of in the lawsuit was the blow-up doll that Eminem constantly performed with on stage and named after Kim.
I know you guys heard a lot of things about, me and my wife and, we're having these problems, but my wife Kim is here. And I mean, the crowd was like, oh, yeah. And then he comes out with the blow-up doll, and it went from, claps to awes and explosions.
On top of seeking $10 million, Kim also wanted to ban M from mentioning her in any other songs in the future. At the time that this lawsuit was going down, MTV asked some lawyers what they thought about Kim's case against M, and one lawyer said it's gonna be a tough case to prove, adding that in divorce lawsuits, the strategy she's using of claiming emotional distress had never been seen before. After months of legal litigation, the divorce was finalized and a resolution was met by Kim and Eminem where they will both share custody of their daughter Haley. Additionally, the judge ordered Eminem to pay $1,000 a week in child support to his ex-wife, which is far less than the $10 million Kim was originally seeking. Thankfully, the lawsuit ended up being a win-win for both parties, because Eminem definitely didn't care about the $1,000 a week that he would have to pay Kim, as long as he was able to maintain a relationship with his daughter. So the next lawsuit on this list came at the tail end of M's lawsuit with his mother in 2001. If you're a big M fan, then you should know about Brain Damage, a song off of the Slim Shady LP where M raps about his childhood bully and the way he treated him. In the song, M raps about how this bully took his lunch money from him, beat him up in a school bathroom, banging his head on the wall, and even choking him. The bully, D'Angelo Bailey, who works as a janitor in a small town outside of Detroit, actually ended up filing a $1 million lawsuit against Eminem, accusing him of invading his privacy by publicizing false information in his song that put him in a bad light. Bailey admitted that he did in fact pick on M in school, but he says it was exaggerated and that he really only bumped him and threw a little shove. Lyrics were cited in court where Eminem says his school principal stomped him out, and him also saying that his whole brain fell out of his skull, and they were used to prove that the song was made in jest, and that Eminem was basically exaggerating what happened as a way to make the song more entertaining. The judge wrote that those lyrics would not be taken literally by a reasonable listener, and because of that, the lawsuit was thrown out and his bully wasn't awarded with any damages. In fact, the bully probably actually lost money if he had to pay his lawyer out of pocket. So, M actually ended up getting the last laugh on his childhood bully. A fun fact about this lawsuit is that the judge in the case actually delivered the ruling that he was throwing the case out by rapping, and he actually spit like 16 bars in court.
The lyrics and stories that no one can take as fact. They're an exaggeration of a childish act. Any reasonable person can see that the lyric could only be hyperbole. It is therefore the Scott's ultimate position that Eminem is entitled to summary disposition.
Next on the list is Eminem's 2002 lawsuit with French pianist Jacques Lussier, who filed a copyright infringement lawsuit against him and Interscope Records. The lawsuit, which sought for $10 to $20 million in damages, claimed that M and Dr. Dre ripped off the pianist's 1979 track Pulsion for a track on the Marshall Mathers LP titled Kill You. On top of asking for $10 to $20 million, the suit also requested that all distribution of Eminem's albums was to stop, and all existing physical copies were to be destroyed. For copyright reasons, I can't play the tracks that were referenced in this lawsuit, but it's pretty cut and dry, and you can definitely tell that this guy's song was the influence for M and Dr. Dre's track. Who knows why Dre didn't try getting permission to use the song in the first place, but either way they ended up settling the lawsuit for an undisclosed amount, and it went pretty much without a fight. This lawsuit is probably the most serious one on this list, because not only was this a civil lawsuit, Eminem was also facing time in prison for apparently beating up a man who was kissing his at-the-time wife, Kim Mathers.
Eminem needed to earn his stripes. So last June, he went back to his hometown, Detroit, and confronted John Guerra, a man who made the mistake of kissing Eminem's wife, Kim. Not what you do to a tough guy rapper.
I was kissing his wife, you know, and I won't apologize for that, ever. You know, why should I? I'm not the one that had pursued her that night, you know. She came to me. If you can't control your wife and keep her happy at home, then don't come to me crying because she did.
Apparently what happened is that Eminem happened to notice a bouncer kissing Kim outside of a club, and he ended up pointing an unloaded weapon at him which he used to assault the guy.
John and Eminem both grew up in a working-class district of Detroit. The fight took place here at 2 in the morning outside this nightclub where John used to be a bouncer. He'd been kissing Kim in the parking lot when suddenly he was confronted by a stranger in a baseball cap.
The guy came around from the front of the van, came over Kim's shoulder with a gun, you know, not even in front of me, and put it right in my face, you know, and I mean, just point blank, and that's when I grabbed it. And they were sitting there, and he's trying to pull it, and it's telling me, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna kill you. And I'm like, I don't even know you, what the hell are you doing? That's when I spun him around and slammed him on the hood of the car. And that's when I let go of the gun. And that was my big mistake. That's when he started hitting me with the gun. I mean, he just started pounding me he hit me here first, and he kept hitting me back here because I brought my head down to his chest, and then I came up with my head. I'm slamming the arm out, and that's when he let go of the gun. And by the time he let go of the gun, I let up on his face. And when I let up on his face, that's when I seen who it was, and before you know it, bam, boom, bam. I'm just actually stumbling backwards. I couldn't believe it. Now I'm in awe because I just seen his face. That is when I realized who it was. That's when I was like, holy shit, that's Eminem. This guy just pulled a gun out on me.
The guy who M allegedly beat up ended up pressing charges against him for assault, which ended up getting him 2 years worth of probation.
I am going to sentence the defendant to 2 years probation with shall not own or possess firearms during the term of probation.
On top of pressing charges against M, John Guerra also filed a civil lawsuit against him. In the lawsuit, Guerra claims it felt like he survived a nightmare.
That's scary. I don't care who you are, how big you are, how tough you are.
And he thought that Eminem might have really killed him because he was so mad. The suit ended up being settled in court, and Eminem had to shell out $100,000 to Guerra, which is less than Guerra was hoping for, but more than M wanted to pay. Thankfully, M didn't have to serve any time for this case, and he was able to keep making music because he was facing up to 9 years in prison. Can you imagine all the music that would have never happened had M went to prison for 9 years in 2000? All in all, it seems like a lot of people who sue Eminem usually have bogus lawsuits, but he still had to pay over $100,000 in settlements, and that's not even including all of his lawyer fees. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and don't forget to subscribe.